on cue every time. It's like you're like Pavlov's sphincter. Okay. My apologies. That took it too far. I blame Mrs. D, her influence. Let's see. Oh, I think we're live. You know what? I completely even forgot to check. I've just been sitting here doing nothing. And meanwhile, people are listening to us. Oh, yeah, we've been live for like 20 minutes. Boom! And we're live. Oh, that was the wrong button. Boom! Now we're all live. It was just me the first time. Shout out to Nathan Therian. We got Biff La Tourette. That might be one of the best listener names that we have. Biff La Tourette. We got Tomas. We got Level Remix here. We've got Roz Hall here. The great Roz Hall. Clarky Bob. Is that a real name? I hope so. We got Carlos L. We got Darth Inkling. Okay. We have a quorum. Hopefully you guys missed the pre-show banter where Mrs. D's influence caused Lewis to say something that was so grotesque that we probably will have to edit that part out. We got Richard Field here from London. You know what I'm going to do, Lewis? I'm going to edit it out me saying it first and just let you be the one saying it.
Oh, great.
Can we do that, Griffin? We got Mario A. Oh, there's all sorts of people piling in.
Fake podcast.
To the people are saying they think I won the prediction iPad event. Man, I honestly do not know. I really just don't know. Like when I was going through the keynote, actually almost in real time, because I woke up and I was like, I might as well watch it. I was thinking to myself, there's no way I won this. Like there are so many questions that we had on there that I'm like, I'm pretty sure Griffin answered yes to, and I said no to. I think Griffin's going to eke this one out. But we just don't know. Look at that smirk. He's trying to contain. He's trying to keep a poker face. Damn you. I can't tell. I can't tell from your face.
Dealt 4 aces.
Oh, man.
See, you got at least one right, so I'm sure you beat me.
Yeah. And actually, Griffin tallied up those of you who sent in your predictions. We got to figure out a way to like officially do this, Griffin, so like people can maybe do it with us during the actual episode or something. I don't know. Like maybe we could do like a Google form or something where people could like send in like the answers on the Google form, and then we could tally it all up pretty easily to see who got
that might
what.
make it easier.
But that would be something that we could talk more about that later. But we have results from those of you who did send in some of your predictions. Okay, look, this is going nowhere fast. Let me go ahead and queue up Mrs. D. We got a lot to do and not a lot of time to do it. So let me go ahead and call up Mrs. D. Oh, Mrs. D. Oh, Mrs. D. Did you hear that thing that Lewis was talking about earlier? Oh, I most certainly did. Hey, Mrs. D. Please, for the love of us all, don't say anything more about it because it was so grotesque that I wouldn't even want you to sully your own reputation by saying something like that on the air. Hopefully people don't catch the replay. If you don't mind, Mrs. D, let's go ahead and get this thing rolling because we have a lot to do. In 3, 2, 1. Hello and welcome to the CultCast, the best 30 plus minute app conversation you're going to hear all week long. I'm your host, Jeff Elijah. Joining me today, he's excited to make the new 13-inch OLED iPad the centerpiece of the Mac writer room security. He'll finally be able to observe every movement in the writer cage, activate alarms, and autofill the food trough from any location in the world. He's the managing editor of Mac. Lewis Wallace is here.
All HomeKit compatible.
Also with us, in 20 years' time, you'll likely see the new OLED iPad sitting on the desks behind him, next to a half dozen other non-functional Apple devices. He's a writer for Mac. Griffin Jones is here.
Airphone, I have to ask, did you buy an iPad this week?
Well, that is the question, isn't it? And I like how you don't bury the lead. I was going to have the same question for you guys. So here's my plight. I almost did, but I was like, I don't really need a new iPad right now because I think I have the 2019 iPad Pro. I think. Lewis, you have the 2018, right?
Yeah, 10.5 one.
Yeah, okay. So I think that they refreshed the design in 2019, and that's the one that I have. And that thing is still going strong. I mean, it does everything that I need it to do. And yet, I still obviously want and desire the iPad Pro so much. I absolutely do not need one. The iPad Air is completely sufficient for everything that I do. But that OLED screen is going to be such a massive improvement. And if you've ever gone from an LCD display to like an OLED display, it's just a huge difference. So I queried my
Bank account.
well, first my bank account to see if it was even possible. And then I reached out to some of my Apple friends and I was like, hey, does anyone have any of their 25s left? All these people use their 25s selfishly, I should add. They didn't even consider good old Papa Earth. They used it on themselves, unbelievably. So there's no 25s left to be had. But I think in 2 or 3 months' time, we're going to see these on the refurbished store. And all Apple employees get 15% off on the refurbished store. So it ends up being like usually it's a 15% discount on refurbished products. So it'll end up being 25 or 30% off then. So I probably will just wait because I don't need to have the iPad Pro. It's not like I'm going to be making YouTube videos about it. MKBHD is going to have the iPad Pro 2 weeks, and so will iJustine before the thing gets released. I mean, Apple is so strategic about releasing this stuff to the access media that they're all going to have it long before we will. I don't mean that as a pejorative, but it is true. It is true.
I know a lot of people who are waiting until WWDC to see if if any of the features that they announce are going to be exclusive to the iPad Pro instead of like they require the M4 instead of the M2.
Oh, I don't even care about that. I mean, that would be a bonus in my book. Like that screen is going to be such a massive improvement. And dude, they shaved off a quarter pounder, or whole Royale with cheese on the 13-inch, which I think might make that 13-inch actually usable. Like a lot of people complained it was far too heavy, but if they shave off a quarter pound, I think that's going to be the one that I go for. We're getting way ahead of ourselves. Look, before we dive in, we're going to pay some bills here from some of our high-powered sponsors who make this show possible. Of course, I've completely lost my show notes and have absolutely no idea where I am. Oh, well, first and foremost, I want to say thanks to Bilt for supporting this episode. This show is brought to you by Bilt Rewards. The Bilt MasterCard is the first card to offer points on rent with no transaction fees. I also want to thank Notion for supporting this episode. Notion is a place where any team can write, plan, organize, and rediscover the joy of play and keep themselves organized, I might add. And Notion is more than just notes. I'm so disorganized. I don't even have this pulled up, do I? Unbelievable. Somebody fire me. Oh, wait, you can't. There we go. Let me bring up browser mode so I can give you all visual delight as I go through this.
Get it together, man. Get it together.
Well, that would be uncharacteristic for this show. I don't want to throw people for a loop. Let's see here. There we go. And now, of course, I've lost my notes page. There we go. Yeah, Notion is way more than just notes. I know some of you are thinking, I already use Apple Notes. That's cool. Although with Notion, you get way more powerful notes. And you have their great Notion AI that you can also use to do all your like writing on your behalf. You could change the tone of something that you've written. And it will allow you to save a ton of time in that capacity. But you can also keep all your docs within Notion. But you can also use Notion for project management, which is why I think a lot of people are switching to Notion. You can create different ways of tracking your projects. And I was actually just thinking about this. Like this might sound kind of hoity-toity, so I apologize. But I was talking to my wife, and we're like, what vacations do we want to go on for the next 3 to 4 years? And we routinely go on vacations with another family because they're like my old college buddies, and they have kids too. So we're trying to align all this stuff, and I was thinking this is way too much stuff to align. We have timelines. We need to know who's going to be following up with what. And Notion is going to be perfect for that, for actually managing some of life's bigger projects, so that you can stay on top of things and remember what you were even trying to accomplish. And you get all that stuff all built into Notion. So it goes way beyond notes. And I'm just scratching the surface here. A lot of YouTubers use it to plan out their content so that they can keep their channel content fresh. I mean, there's just all sorts of stuff that you can use it for. Try Notion for free when you go to notion.com/cultcast. That's all lowercase letters, notion.com/cultcast, and start turning your ideas into action. That's really the key part. It's actually doing something with those ideas. And when you use our link, you're supporting our show. That's notion.com/cultcast. Lewis, are you ready to lead us? Are you ready to take over? Talk about the new iPads. Are you doing both of them? Oh,
Apparently so.
Thank goodness you are. Do you know that you're doing both of them?
Yeah, I'm very familiar with the show notes. I keep them at hand.
Okay.
I recommend it.
I'll be the
Keep
judge
a
of that.
tab open. Yeah, well, so they finally did it. Apple finally supersized the iPad Air. There's a 13-inch model, same as the iPad Pro that everybody's, the gigantic thing. Smaller iPad Air also got a size bump up to 11 inches from 10.9. So they're all bigger.
Oh,
And they're
They
all
actually-
airier.
They actually didn't change the size of
It's
the
not the same
display.
thing. They just changed the name.
what
They
they're
rounded
calling
up.
it.
Right. Well, and it's very exciting that it's no longer 0.9, 0.9, 0.9. That got annoying. I like it. Just round up, Apple. Let's see. So what's new about it? The new iPad Air runs an M2 processor, which Apple says is 50% faster than the M1 chip in the 2022 iPad Air, and 3 times faster than the 4th gen iPad Air with the sad little A14 Bionic chip.
I think my
Are there new
iPad has
features?
the A12 Bionic.
A12. Oh my! How do you even iPad with that?
Quite effectively, actually. I almost never noticed that it's old. It's so powerful still.
Other new features include front-facing landscape camera with center stage, keep everyone in the shot. Landscape stereo speakers with spatial audio for better sound. They support the old Magic Keyboard, the $299 one without function keys and no fancy aluminum shell. The new Apple Pencil Pro. I feel like I'm mentioning all these things we haven't even discussed. It's kind of weird. Anyway,
That's all right.
Apple Pencil Pro and the old USB-C Apple Pencil. And they also they work with the hover feature, which I've never had the joy of experience.
I haven't either.
Unfortunately. No Face ID. Still has Touch ID in the fingerprint scanner built into the power button on the right edge. And let's see, the pricing. 11-inch model starts at $599. 13-inch model starts at $799.
Yeah, so same pricing. That's great. In fact, I was trying to figure out if they raised prices on the Pros. They did raise prices on the Pros, didn't they?
Oh yeah.
Okay, I was going to say, but
Who
you
could
know,
have
it's,
guessed that?
I mean, we had talked about that obviously, but it's actually very hard to figure out what the original price was on stuff. After Apple releases a new model, they completely scrub it from their website, and all these third-party retailers that sell this stuff, they charge their own prices. They're not necessarily actually related to what Apple charges. So it's actually kind of hard to tell how much things used to cost.
It's like we should print out all the pricing and everything. You just have like a binder full of prices.
Yeah, we should have a wonderful prices.
You can go to
Careful
either
with that.
Wikipedia. Wikipedia lists the original price, and you can also go to the Internet Archive. That'll show you the old version of the website. That's what I use all the time.
Oh, that's a good idea. The Internet
It can
Archive.
certainly be done.
Oh my goodness! Hold on a second. We gotta get the checking account updated here. We got a super chat from Brad Pepper, a very spicy guy, if I do say so myself. Holy moly, he's given $99.99 going straight into LK's pocket. We gotta get this
American?
fixed. That's U.S. currency.
Wow.
That's like $45 in 2023 money.
That is shocking.
I know. Thank you, Brad. Oh my goodness, that might be the biggest one that we've gotten yet.
I'm gonna have to start wearing a hat so that I could say hats off.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Maybe we could use
I'm
that
full of 'em.
$99 to buy you a hat. Do you own a hat? Like some kind of like nice
Do
British
I
hat?
own a hat?
Well, that is greatly appreciated, Brad. Thank you. We still got to get in touch with Hugo Last. Get him on the show because I think he's given us like $1,800 total so far. I hope that we don't get chargebacks on that money at some point in the future. Or that he has
Chargeback.
we find out he's using like a stolen credit card or something.
Reverse PayPal.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, sorry, we're way off track here, but thank you, Brad.
Wow.
Yep, keep it rolling. I just saw that, and
$100 detour.
Yep.
Let's see. So, everybody's excited about the iPad Air, but I
think the biggest disappointment is that. Sorry, you're leading into something.
No, that's all right. Go ahead.
I think the biggest disappointment is that it doesn't have Face ID. Like after all these years, apparently Face ID is just a really expensive component to include, and they just can't get it down to the $600 price level. I mean, you would think if it only costed $4, then they would be able to put it in the iPad Air by now. I think it's really the biggest, like, for me, I think that's the biggest reason where I would even entertain an iPad Pro instead of an iPad Air, because having
there you go.
Yeah, I wouldn't, which is why I don't own an iPad. But I'm just saying, it's disappointing.
I'm surprised it does. It feels like it feels like they should have added it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, got to do whatever you can to get people to spend that extra money on the Pro, right? And they probably are very careful on the features that they add to the lower end iPads because they want you to spring for that extra Pro model. And, until now with the OLED screen, you're basically paying for more performance. But for most people, the more performance doesn't really matter. I mean, the iPads are plenty powerful enough. Like the Air does everything you really need it to do from a performance perspective. There are almost no apps that even take advantage of the raw horsepower that's provided. So they probably have to reserve some of those features for Pro. But you know what I was just thinking? I think you just said, there you go, Lewis. A great marketing term they can use in like the next release of like the iPad Air. There you go. They can have that, maybe not for free. That will be a royalty basis. We'll have to talk about that. But anything else to add about this? I actually really like the colors: blue, purple, starlight, and is that space gray or space black? That's space gray for sure.
I forgot all about the colors because they're not really colors. I mean, when that flashed up on the screen, I'm like, which one's blue? Which one's purple? Which one's silver? I don't know. Maybe my eyes are not good enough to discern it. That's probably the problem.
I really like them a lot, actually. Like they're, they're kind of lighter colors, but
blue like purplish.
They're almost colors,
almost purple, kind of gold, and then gray. I actually really like the space gray. Truth be told, I'm not a fan of space black at all. I really just don't like it. I don't like the color at all. It's way too dark. So I'm probably going to have to go back to silver, I think, for the iPads and future Macs. I would much rather have silver than space black, but that's just me, especially because I think that thing's a fingerprint magnet. All right. Anything else about iPad Airs before we move on, Lewis?
I don't think we need to talk about anything else. iPad Pro, of course, is the big star of the show. Lots more exciting actual upgrades that are in some cases shocking. So it's the first, you rolled out the first two iPads with OLED screens, which, everybody that has ever seen these things says is so fantastic. I've not yet seen one. Anyway, I think the most shocking thing is yes, in fact, it does run on the Apple M4 processor. The M4, just months after the M3.
I could have told you that. If you listened last show, I would have told you. I would have told you why, too.
A little bird told you. Let's see. Yeah, so they've got the iPad Pro beats the Mac to Apple's latest chip. First time for everything. This tablet, that OLED screen, this was shocking, too. It has what Apple calls a tandem OLED technology that stacks to... I keep OLED. I cannot decide which way to pronounce it. And I don't remember which way did Apple say it. I don't even remember.
I think that they said OLED. Most people, okay. I think most people say OLED.
I meant to make a check of that, and I failed miserably. Anyway, this stacks two OLED panels to provide greater full screen brightness. That's 1,000 nits for SDR and HDR content, and 1,600 nits peak for HDR. 1,600 nits.
That's darn bright. That's darn bright.
Gonna need sunglasses. For the first time, Apple is also offering a nano texture display glass option. Costs you an extra $100. Only can get it on the 1 terabyte and 2 terabyte models.
Of course. You only get the extra core on those models as well.
They give you more power.
I really hate this nickel and diamond action they got going on. I really don't like it.
It's a it's an incentive to buy the expensive one, isn't it?
Yeah.
Let's see the two, less expensive models, 256 and 512 models. Those come with a 9-core CPU with 3 performance cores and 6 efficiency cores. The most expensive 1 terabyte and 2 terabyte models come with 10-core CPU. That's 1 extra performance core and the same 6 efficiency cores. They all get the 10-core GPU, which Apple says makes the M4 4 times faster than previous iPad models. New GPU takes, quote, just half the power to get the same performance of M2. So it's faster, it's way more efficient, so much more pro iPad.
Dude, that M4 is going to be such a monster. I mean, it's so much power. It's more power than anyone needs. I know we're going to talk about updated Logic and Final Cut Pro here, which I do have some thoughts on, by the way. I'm happy. Well, I'm not going to get ahead of myself. It's all about it's all about the OLED here. They called it the best display on earth. I don't know about that. They didn't say anything about QD OLED, which is the better, newer generation of OLED that Samsung makes, which changes the way that they, how do I describe this? It changes the way they manufacture OLED so that it can be brighter and have better color saturation. I have a QD OLED television, and it's like the most unbelievably perfect, beautiful, magnificent display I have ever seen. It's like a Sony Master TV that I got on a crazy Black Friday deal, and then it crapped out, and then they sent me the brand new generation instead of fixing the one that I had. So I have like the best TV money can buy. And it's QD OLED, and I don't think that's what this is. And if that's the case, is it going to be good? Yeah, it will be very good, but it's not QD OLED, I don't think. I don't get the whole dual OLED display. I don't know if they're
say that a traditional OLED display doesn't have the brightness that they need. And so what they've basically like stacked 2 displays on top of each other so that it's double the brightness.
Yeah, but there's a lot of OLEDs that get this bright. So I don't know if they are adding marketing jargon to technology that has existed for the last 2 years, or if they actually did something novel here. But I think
this is brand new, because they've also said repeatedly that like it's not just like the display itself, but also like the components inside the processor. Like the reason this iPad is built on M4 is because they had to design a completely new like display driver and like display hardware inside the chip to be able to like output to this display as well.
Interesting.
And that's why the iPad Pro needed to be on M4 for it.
Huh. And someone's also saying that tandem OLED might also prevent screen burn-in. Yeah, that might be true, because I think brightness contributes to burn-in. So now if you have 2 OLEDs in tandem orientation, I don't even know what that would look like, then maybe you're only having to use like half the brightness from each OLED in order to bring the brightness up to a certain level. That actually might be part of it. Is like they're doing this as a burn-in retention mitigation, because obviously burn-in is an issue with OLEDs, and they don't want people to be returning these or complaining about burn-in.
Yeah, because I don't keep my displays very bright at all. So if I had one of these, I would probably keep it at like 10% brightness, and then it would just, last forever and never burn in.
Yeah, but on your iPhone and on your on your Apple Watch, like if you go outside, they crank up to full brightness, and they are surprisingly bright. And if you're out there for long enough, then I mean, what can you do about that? If you're using it indoors all the time, then your strategy makes sense. But if you're going outside, it's going to crank up the brightness.
I rarely go outside, and when I do, I live in Ohio, so it's never actually that bright outside.
So you just need to move. If you want a longer life for your OLED displays, you need to move to Ohio. I don't know. I would just say thoughts on both these. No one needs the iPad Pro. Absolutely no one. There's zero actually use cases for needing something that's this powerful, unless you're an artist. Because the interactions that you get with the Apple Pencil Pro, being able to gyrate your pencil and like change the orientation of your cursor, that is pretty cool. And I can't believe that they are just doing this now, because that seems like it would be rather critical for creating artistic works on the iPad. Lewis, I felt I cut you off. You were about to say something. You looked very passionate.
We didn't. I didn't want to pass up the other really astonishing thing about this. These new screens let them slim this thing down. Apple says this is the thinnest device they've ever made, and the things I've read about it's like lighter, like significantly noticeably lighter, thinner, lighter, and more powerful. I mean, it's kind of I had like a little bit of a Johnny Ive flashback during that part of it. I mean, thin is in again.
Yeah, and the lighter thing is something that we definitely need to emphasize. They shaved a freaking quarter pound off the 13-inch iPad Pro. I have always wanted to get a 13-inch iPad Pro, but everyone always talks me out of it because they're like, it's like holding a medieval shield. The thing weighs 65 pounds. Now I was like, Leander, you're exaggerating. I think you need to go to the gym, but I've heard other people say that it is too heavy. But
they are big and heavy.
Well, but now, what size do you have? You have the 11, don't you? Or you have the 10.9, you said?
I have a 10.5, but, the wife has I don't know which version of the Pro, but I mean, the first version, the big iPad Pro was like, oh my God, hefty. It's like a serving platter. It feels like one.
So they're doing away with the backlight, obviously, because OLEDs are self-illuminating, which is probably where you're going to get that huge weight savings from. So for me, I am most likely going to go with the 13-inch iPad Pro. I'm not going to get the smart keyboard, even though we'll talk about that. It looks incredible, but it's going to add a ton of weight. And I don't like that it adds all that weight. And for me, I don't usually need a keyboard.
They said that got lighter weight as well compared to the old one.
I mean, I'll try it out, but even still, I don't use a keyboard and trackpad often enough to warrant the extra weight and the expense. I probably will not get the Apple Pencil Pro, even though I desperately want one. My current one just lives in a drawer or connected to my iPad so the battery doesn't die, and I almost never use it. But
you have it in case you ever need it.
Well, that is a good point. That is a good point. Now you're changing my mind. It's like getting 2 terabytes, right? Spending like the extra $800 to get the 2 terabytes.
Just in case.
But seriously, though, almost no one needs the iPad Pro, even though I think it's going to be the ultimate travel device and airplane movie experience, especially if you have like the AirPods Max like I do. You're going to look like a complete jerk sitting there with like your AirPods Max and your 13-inch OLED iPad Pro on the plane watching Lord of the Rings. But the iPad Air is also, I think, extremely compelling. I mean, they put the M2 in it. You got the 13-inch size now. It basically does everything that you need it to do and more. Like, there's no way you're going to make the M2 even sweat. That's the one that I would probably recommend to virtually everybody, including myself. But unfortunately, I have to have the best. I demand the best. You guys know that. And if you're listening to this podcast, you kind of are probably the same way. How much were the iPad Pros before? Does anyone remember?
They started at $799 and now they're $999.
Okay, so they got a 20% price hike.
That's for the 11-inch model, and I think the 13-inch model also got a $200 price bump from $99 to $1,299.
Well, that's a bigger price bump. That's a 30%.
Yeah. Maybe it was $10.99.
Was it $9.99 or was it $10.99?
I think it was $10.99. It might have been $7.99 and $10.99. That's a whole lot of extra cash for 2 inches. You know what I'm saying? Like, is it worth it? I don't know. But I think that's going to be the way that I go. And, okay, good point. Steve from the chat. Maybe this is not the point you're making, Steve, but I'm going to credit you anyway. They did bump up the base storage. Like, before, you would have had to spend the extra dough to get to 256 gigabytes of storage. Now it starts there. So, they're giving you a little bit, but that's what Apple does.
If you were to buy one, how would you configure it?
I would just go completely base. There's no reason to go anything beyond base for me. I don't need a terabyte of storage. I don't need any more than 256 gigabytes of storage. All I use it for is watching Dr. Disrespect replays, browsing the internet before I go to bed, and I will tell you exactly how I use it usually. Okay, so I am a YouTube Premium subscriber, so I get picture-in-picture for that ridiculous fee that I pay. And what I will do is I will go picture-in-picture mode. So I'll have a big YouTube video like in the corner somewhere on the iPad, and then I'll just be reading. I'm just like mindlessly scrolling, Reddit or whatever at night, and I also have the video going, and that's my prime use case. So like having the larger screen means I have a larger video. It also means that I have more screen real estate to move the video around. And then, of course, it's going to be like just the absolute perfect travel device. Like when I went to Disney World 2 years ago, I set up my 11-inch iPad Pro, and I had my AirPods Max, and I was watching movies on the way there, and there was some kid that was like screaming, which I get flight anxiety anyway. I do not like to fly. And then you add that into it. It's like some kids screaming at the top of their lungs for an hour. And I just put on the iPad Pro and the noise cancellation activated, and I was like, oh, this is so much better. And I'm like watching a movie. But I was left wanting somewhat because 11 inches for a screen is really not very big. Like 13 inches is better. You know, Griffin's going to be over there with his Vision Pro watching an 85-inch display, fully immersed. He won't even know that the plane's going down, which might be a good thing. But,
Jeez.
you know, dude, that's how I get. Like, I get that nervous. And it all stems from me watching this movie, Final Destination. I don't know if any of you have seen that movie. They made a whole series of them. But in the very first one, the premise is like these kids are on this trip and they go on a flight, and I think some of them end up not going or something.
Oh dear.
And like they escape death, and now death's coming after them to get them for the rest of the movie because like he's mad that they got away. But that movie had one of the most realistic plane crash scenes that I had ever seen, and it freaked me out. And ever since I saw that movie, I have had flight anxiety. And as I've gotten older, it just gets worse and worse and worse. So I am sitting there on the plane. If there's any turbulence at all, like I immediately start getting nervous. I have to pause the movie, and just sit there and say my prayers because I just can't handle it. Like I really don't like turbulence. And then 2 years ago, when we were at Disney World, we're way off track here. I'm sorry, but we were like I think 2 days away from leaving, and we start getting all these texts from the airline about how our flight times are being changed. Our flight time got bumped to be earlier. Our friend's flight time had, I think, been bumped later or something, and then ended up being canceled. And we're getting all these texts. We're completely ignoring it because we're at Disney World, right? And at a certain point, we realize, what is going on here? Why do we keep getting all these text messages? All this stuff's happening. Well, there's a hurricane coming in, and we had no idea. And it just happened to coincide with the day we were leaving. And so the airlines were trying to figure out what they were going to be doing, and they bumped my flight to be earlier so that we were one of the last people to leave the airport before they closed the whole thing down. Like we get there, it was a freaky scene. The skies were all gray. The palm trees are bending like noodles. It's like there's like the entire airport is completely disheveled. There's like newspapers lying all over the ground. It looks like a scene from a zombie movie. And I have flight anxiety, right? And I'm like, dude,
that doesn't help.
I'm like, we should not be leaving this airport right now. Like, look around you. like, there's a hurricane bearing down on us. Like, we should not be leaving. But they wanted to get us out. What?
I'm sure they know what they're doing.
That's what I kept telling myself. So we get on this dang airplane, and I'm already at DEFCON 7. Freaked out. And we start going up, and the plane is going like this, shaking all around. And I'm like, dear Lord, I'm going to lose it. I'm going to lose it on this plane. Like, and it was like that. That turbulence is, I would say, moderate. Maybe I've never been in severe turbulence, thank God. But it was pretty moderate. And it was like that all the way to Alabama. It took probably an hour for it to calm down. And neither the iPad nor the AirPods Max could save me from enduring that traumatic experience. But
make sure you fly on an Airbus and not a Boeing.
Well, it's not like you have a choice, dude. It's not like you get to choose what plane you go on. Yeah, no kidding. At least my door didn't fly off. But I don't even know why I'm telling this story.
It's a pretty severe, pretty severe tangent.
Yeah. Where are we? I have no idea.
Tell us about your favorite thing, specs.
Yeah, so we talk about specs. Oh, wait. So let me put a bow on that. So no one needs the iPad Pro, but obviously that OLED screen is going to be a massive, huge increase in fidelity. And I think for that feature alone, it's probably worth it. Plus, Griff and I were talking about this, like the fact that we did get M4 on iPad Pro, all but assures the fact that we have MacBook Pros incoming, before the end of the year with upgraded M4 Max chips. So it's going to be like, so now I'm definitely not buying the MacBook Pro, Griffin. You ask me every week, half joking, and I almost buy it. every single week, but I convinced myself not to. We're all but assured to get the upgraded MacBook Pros, before the end of the year. So hold your horses on that if you've been thinking about buying a MacBook Pro. I would wait. I would not buy one at this point.
I bet you that the thin and light aspect of the Pro, when you go in there and you compare the two, I bet it's going to be
massive,
a powerful attract.
If you don't want to buy an iPad, don't go to an Apple store.
Don't touch it. Don't even touch it.
I'm going in there. I want to see it. I'm gonna actually be responsible. I'm gonna go in there. No, so here's my plan. I think we talked about this in the pre-show. Did we do this in the pre-show, or did we do this during the regular episode? I don't remember.
I don't know.
It all folds into each other. So here's where I'm at. I apologize if I already said this because I can't remember. So here's my plan. Am I going to buy it right now? No. I pulled my network of Apple friends who work at Apple, and I said this earlier. They all used their 25% offs already. So here I am. I got no 25s left to be had. And I don't know if it's worth 15% off, which is what I have been offered, which I deeply appreciate. But I'm like, I don't need it right away, right? I could wait. And so what I was saying before is these are going to appear in the refurb store in 2 to 3 months. We know that. And they'll be discounted 15%. At that point, if you have any Apple friends, they can give you an additional 15% off anything that Apple sells, including refurbs. So you'll end up getting maybe 30% off at that point. So for me, I think that's the play. Like, my current iPad serves me well. I don't need to get a new iPad. So I definitely want one. I am going to upgrade, but probably I'm going to wait until I can get a better discount on it, or wait until they're discounted at a retailer like B&H or Adorama or something. Like $1,300 plus tax for the 13-inch MacBook Pro. Now you're talking about a $1,400 iPad. I mean, these things just keep getting more and more and more expensive. And for me, even though I would love to have it, not worth it for me at this point. Steve from the chat, Airphone, would you do a review of the Sonos Ace headphones when they get released? I'm not familiar with those, but I would love to get back into reviewing headphones and also other music gear, because like those are my favorite kind of reviews. Gurn Blanson, he wants one so bad he will fork it over. I'm not sure I'll be doing any forking, but I hope you are, Gurn, because we desperately need it. We're trying to do a CultCast Disney roller coaster trip so we can film Lewis's reactions on every single ride, but we can't do that without your support. We need to raise about $5,000. So we desperately need you all to fork it over at support.thecultcast.com if you haven't already. Okay.
We also have to guarantee video of you on the airplane to the place.
Yeah, you can.
Squealing like a little girl every time there's a little bump.
No, I'm not squealing. I'm just sitting there completely white, and my my hands are gripped on the handrests.
Like a skeleton.
My face is contorted in pain. And
say to the flight attendant, ma'am, is there any way I can bring down the oxygen mask just in advance, just in case?
I mean, the Vision Pro at $3,500 seems like a very expensive remedy for that. Have you considered gin and tonic?
I don't know if that helps. They'll have to pipe the cannabis smoke right through the oxygen system to calm me down.
That won't help at all.
Yeah, that definitely wouldn't make it better. That definitely wouldn't make it better. Let's see here. Where are we? Right. We need to talk about specs and benchmarks, don't we? Which I'm excited to, but let's see here. Before we do that, I want to make sure I don't accidentally bring up the poll results, because that would be bad at this point, since we or not the poll, but our prediction results. So real quick, I do want to thank Bilt Rewards for supporting this episode. Whoops. But I brought up the wrong window. If you guys are renters, I think that you're really going to like what I have to say. This show is brought to you by, Bilt Rewards. At some point, we've all felt that paying rent is kind of like setting your money on fire. We're not building credit and our rent payments don't work towards buying a home. Well, I'm here to tell you that Bilt Rewards has figured out a way to do all of that and make rent more rewarding. They launched the Bilt MasterCard, which lets you pay your rent and earn points without the credit card transaction fee. Even if your landlord only takes checks, Bilt will mail one for you. Then you can use those earned points towards hotels or flights, towards future rent payments, and even towards a down payment on a home. The Bilt MasterCard is the first card to offer points on rent with no transaction fee. To get rewarded for your largest expense, it seems like a no-brainer to me. Check it out. I wish I had the Bilt card back when I was a renter. You can earn points by paying rent right now when you go to joinbilt.com/cultcast. That's joinbilt.com/cultcast. Make sure to use our URL so they know that we sent you. Joinbilt.com/cultcast to start earning points with your rent payments today. Terms apply. Thanks to Bilt for supporting this episode. And of course, onwards with the specs, which I seem to have misplaced. Here we go. The first M4 iPad Pro benchmarks show a 21% performance increase over M3. Benchmarks giving an early look at the performance of the M4 processor for the 2024 iPad Pro have finally arrived. And as I just said, I feel like Matt Berry doing the Clem Fandango bit. Do you guys know what show I'm talking about?
No, I do not.
Oh, dude, never mind. I won't get into it. That's a whole nother tangent. But for those of you British listeners, hopefully some of you get that. The M4 is built on the second generation 3nm technology. It has up to 4 performance cores and 6 efficiency cores, 2 more than the M3. And I was going to say earlier, but Griffin poo-pooed what I'm about to say, is it kind of feels like the M4 is an M3 or M4 in name only because it uses the new 3nm process, and the M3 was the older 3nm process. And so the M3 was more like a stopgap, and then here we are at the M4, which seems to be like the 3nm process that we actually wanted to start with and delivers some efficiency gains, but he'll talk more about that in a bit. M4 delivers up to 1 times faster CPU performance over the powerful M2 in the iPad Pro. I love how they make these comparisons to these older generations. It's like 165 times faster than the iPhone 3GS. It's like, oh, wow. Let's see here.
Number.
Those wondering how much the processor improves over the M3 that debuted in the MacBooks just 7 months ago. Wow. The Geekbench 6 scores found that the M4 earned a 14,677 on the multi-core test. For comparison, the M3 MacBook Pro scored 12,102, according to Engadget anyway. So that is a 21% improvement. For those thinking of upgrading, the M4 is 50% better than the M2 and 71% better than the M1 on the same test. Wow. The M4's single-core performance, this is the one that I always care about because I feel like this is a much better gauge of performance increase. Since multi-core, they can always just add more cores. The M4 single-core performance was 3767, and the M3 MacBook Air scored a 3190, which is an 18% improvement, which even just the single-core performance, that's pretty big. I mean, there was a time when Intel was delivering, 11% boost in single-core performance. So that definitely is definitely a big increase. And then, of course, the machine learning capabilities have also been drastically increased, which we talked about in past shows, which is part of why I was so certain that Apple was going to include it on this new iPad, which I was right about. M4 has Apple's fastest neural engine ever. I'm quoting Apple here, capable of up to 38 trillion operations per second, which is faster than the neural processing unit of any AI PC today. What does an AI PC even mean? What is an AI PC? Can anyone tell me? I don't even know what that means. I've never heard of such a thing.
Apple's saying that a lot of other
Cook can tell you.
A lot of other chips don't include any machine learning hardware in them whatsoever.
Yeah.
I think that's what they're referring to.
But that's kind of my point. Is like they're referring to something that doesn't exist because no computers.
Well, they're saying that this one is faster than the ones that do.
I wonder which ones do. I've never heard of another one, to be honest, but I don't know. Maybe I'm missing something. Let's see here. Oh, here's the best part. Coming to Mac. The M4 launched an iPad Pro, obviously, but leaks indicate it'll appear in Macs starting in the fall. The end of 2024 and the beginning of 2025 will bring new iMacs, a low-end 14-inch MacBook Pro, a high-end 14 and 16-inch MacBook Pro, and Mac Minis, all with M4 chips, says the Germinator. So hold your hold your horses. If you've been waiting for that new Mac, I mean, all that expensive performance that you have to pay extra for in the M3, I think you're going to just get in the M4 if you just wait until fall, which is obviously not even that fall away. I'll see myself out. Let's see here. John from the chat, Max Tech says the M4 is faster than the Core i9 in single core. Yeah, I believe that. They always stream back and forth. Betty Reyes, yes. Clem H. Fandango. Apologies, I forgot the H. It's just so funny. I can't get into it. It's going to take us too long, and we're running out of time. But for those of you that know, you know what I'm saying. God, we're all over the place, and particularly me. I think I covered all of that. Did I lose my notes again? Yeah, I did.
So I think this is the chip that we've all been waiting for. Like M2 was a pretty modest improvement over M1. It was the first revision of Apple Silicon, and that was pretty good. M3 I think was kind of hyped up quite a lot, especially on this show. Like, that's the first time they're going to switch to the 3-nanometer process. That's going to change everything. It's going to be so much faster and so much more efficient. And I was like, well, a little bit, but not really. It was just like another M2-esque bump. But here we are with M4, the enhanced 3-nanometer process, and like, I think this is what we've all been waiting for. It is both incredibly power efficient and incredibly fast. Like Steve Troughton-Smith on Mastodon posted another link. I can find it for the show notes, but he saw other benchmarks that were saying that M4 doubles the performance of M1, which in just 3 generations is kind of remarkable. Like, the 2018 MacBook Pro was not double the speed of my 2015 MacBook Pro. That's why I held on to it for so long. Because like, what's the point of spending so much money on something that isn't any faster? But like the M4, I think is reaping the rewards of like the new process. So looking forward to all of the Macs getting it pretty soon.
Dude, this is it, man. The M4. This is a good year to be waiting for Apple hardware. I mean, you got the iPad Pros that we've been waiting for and talking about forever. Now you get the M4 a MacBook Pro later this year. Did I just say iPad Pro or MacBook Pro earlier? I
believe you said iPad Pro.
Okay, just making sure. And then you get the MacBook Pro coming in the fall. It's going to be one of those expensive years. And if you sprung for the Vision Pro, you got no powder left for anything. so I mean, we'll
and
tell
the
you
Mac Mini. And the iPad Mini still exists.
Jeez.
Yeah, you could also still get. Oh, do we want to mention? Hold on a second. I'm looking at the show notes. I feel like we have this out of order, because like.
Oh dear.
Do you want to talk about this? Well, we got 30 minutes left, Lewis. Do you want to talk about this Crush ad quickly? Because we have all these other stories, and we still have to do the. Oh my goodness! Look at all this.
My stories at the end will be really quick.
Okay, we're gonna have to cruise because we need. I mean, how long do you think we need for the Let Loose prediction results?
Probably 10 minutes.
Yeah, at least 10 minutes.
I think we could probably just gloss over those. I mean, maybe just a brief summary of the results and then just.
Okay. Well, do you want to talk about the Crush ad, Lewis?
Yeah. So apparently, this Crush ad that was in there, if you saw it, apparently this triggered some people. If you saw the show, I thought this was one of the most fun parts of this event, right? They have this video. They have a giant hydraulic compactor, and it's just loaded up with, what was it? A trumpet, a acoustic guitar, all kinds of like toys and video games and things like that. And it just slowly, cans of paint, classically, just slowly compacts them, and everything just gets, smashed out into a horrible painty, just mess. And then it goes back up, it reverses, and the thing opens up, and there's the iPad Pro.
Dude, it is kind of genius, to be honest with you. That is a really cool ad.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was beautiful. And anyway, it's like a minute-long thing, but then, it just set people off, Everybody just went crazy, it seems like. Not obviously, it's the internet, social media, right? Everybody, whatever. Anyway, triggered a whole bunch of people. Isn't too surprising. live in a nation of pansies. But social media whining goes on and 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 on. So like here are some of the, everything beautiful, charming, and analog will be destroyed by a flat black screen.
Oh, give me a break. Come on, dude. I mean, people have to find something to be mad about everything.
iPad crushes the soul of humanity.
Yeah, it's not like anyone's forcing you to throw down $1,300 for the iPad. You can keep your French horn if you want to. No one's going to take it from you. No one wants your French horn.
It's tons of creative types, whatever. Even actor Hugh Grant on Twitter, or X, whatever you call it these days, says the destruction of the human experience, courtesy of Silicon Valley.
Dude, come on.
Complete overreaction. I mean,
it's an analogy.
Apple is showing you visually that the iPad Pro can, not take the place of, but can replicate many of these things, right? It's a device that could do so many things. It's very creative. And that's one reason I don't have the iPad Pro. I'm not going to buy the brand new one. Is that I bought an iPad Pro because I was so excited about all the creative applications, but it turns out I can't draw for nothing. I can't even take handwritten notes that anyone can read. So what do I need an iPad Pro and an Apple Pencil for? I don't have those kinds of skills. I don't use it to make music. I should, but I don't. I thought this was a kind of a really cool little ad. It was eye-catching. It's not just somebody talking about specs and stuff. I thought it was cool.
Yeah. I thought you were going to go a completely different direction with this. I thought you were going to say that they were mad that Apple destroyed all of this stuff and had to put it in a landfill in production of an ad. Although I don't even know if this stuff is real. I mean, is this like a real...
That's the thing. Like, is it?
It looks
I've
real.
seen a lot of people say, "Oh, it's all CGI."
I don't think so.
I don't know. Some of it's got to be CGI, right? I mean, they couldn't have gotten all that on the camera. So after all this uproar, and honestly, it's if you look at like tech meme replies to this thing, there's like hundreds just on, that tech meme has aggregated. If you go and look on our website, or not our website, our Facebook page, nobody comments on our website, which really bums me out. On Facebook posts, just all these responses. But ultimately, I don't know if you saw this, but filmmaker, and I'm going to butcher this person's name, Rizo Sixo Safai, fixed the video by running it in reverse with some tweaks, resurrecting the creative tools.
Perfect. Great.
So I thought that was that's cool.
Yeah.
I mean, it's an interesting flip the whole thing on its head. So
yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I love the ad. I was surprised it caused so much consternation.
That was the word I was just thinking of. I can't believe you said it.
Consternation?
It's like you pulled it right out of my brain.
You don't get to use that word every day either.
No, you definitely don't get to use it as often as I would like to. Okay. It's been covered. Let's move on, shall we? And talk about some of the other aspects of the iPad Pro. Let's see. I think these are me. Okay, obviously you get the new Apple Pencil Pro. Let me put this over here so I can see what I'm doing, which looks absolutely beautiful and is something I definitely want, but in no way, shape, or form need. I bought the previous Apple Pencil, and it is just a curse on my life. I never use it, but I don't want the battery to die. So I'm constantly trying to manage the battery state so that it doesn't completely croak, so it's available when I want to use it, but I don't use it on any kind of regular basis. I don't write with it very often because I just don't write very often. But
aspirational creativity.
Yeah, I mean, I use it sometimes, and I have created some masterpieces, like one of the best drawings I ever made, which is of Dr. Disrespect, was created on my current iPad Pro with the Apple Pencil.
Sure, one of the very best.
And I did it just by looking at a picture of him, and I got the mustache perfect. I got the 3D LED LCD laser scopes perfect. But that was the last time I really did any artwork with it. So now we have the new Apple Pencil Pro. You know what Pro means, right, Lewis?
Mo money.
Mo money. That's exactly it. Yep.
Same price.
Is it?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well, there you go.
So, another shocker. There were several surprises in this event.
I thought they raised the price on this, but I guess not.
Sure it was going to be $159, but no, $129.
They had the new squeeze gesture, which I really do like a lot. It just adds an extra interaction for those people who are doing real work on their iPads. But I think that the big one, obviously, is the internal gyroscope with the haptic feedback, so you can churn the pencil and have like the cursor rotate on your screen. That is a super cool feature that for some reason feel compelled to want to purchase, even though I can't think of a single reason why I would use it, which is why I bought the last Apple Pencil and almost never use it.
You're not going to do calligraphy with your Apple Pencil?
Maybe I will. You've convinced
Get
me.
into it, man.
Maybe one day I will do calligraphy.
You could do illuminated manuscripts. Think how awesome it'll be.
Yeah, see, these are the suggestions that I needed in order to convince myself, in order to put me over the top.
You know how expensive calligraphers' pens are? Like, people spend hundreds of dollars on like fountain pens and stuff like that. The Apple Pencil is a bargain.
I hadn't even considered all these arguments. I'm in, but
you don't need fancy papers either. Just a $1,300 iPad.
Yeah, maybe I could use it to like write fancy love notes to my wife and Judy E. Heath, of course.
You airdrop them too.
Yeah, I could send them via a note or something. You also get Apple Pencil Hover, which I don't have because my iPad and Pencil are too old. I guess my iPad is too old, which I also think is a really super cool piece of functionality. Of course, the big drawback here is the Pencil Pro is only compatible with the new M2 iPad Airs. Oh, I actually didn't realize that. I thought it was just the M4 iPad Pros. Okay, so that might be the play right there is the iPad Air with the Apple Pencil Pro. I don't love that they moved the camera to the side of the iPad, particularly because I voted that they wouldn't do that in our last episode because I thought it was crazy, but there you are.
That's hilarious.
The new iPads are compatible with this new Pencil and the previously released USB-C wired Apple Pencil. Adding to the confusion, all of the older pencils are still for sale, of course. And then the Apple Pencil is available for order right away for the same $129 price tag. I wish I had seen that before I had asked if the price had gone up. Here's another one that chaps my hind end. The new Magic Keyboard for sale. iPad Pro features a bigger glass trackpad, which I voted they wouldn't do, with haptic feedback. And also, gall darn you, Griffin. This is why I'm pretty sure you won. The function keys, which I also voted against because I didn't see that one happening.
I screamed out loud when I heard that.
Did you do the Darth Vader? No!
Exactly.
All those were only 1 point, so it's only 1 point.
Oh, really? Okay, so maybe.
So what you're saying is,
so I'm still ahead.
He's got a chance.
All right. I would love to have the new Magic Keyboard. Dude, they're so nice. I had one for my current iPad. I ended up selling it because I just didn't use it enough. And it does add a lot of weight. Now, I know that this one, we already spoke about the fact that they made it lighter. But even so, I like to have a slim folio case on my iPad so that it's protected when I'm just using it for media consumption. So having the keyboard would obviously mean that I couldn't have a slim folio attached to it. Even though it is really easy to pull your iPad off of this, if you want to just use it as an iPad, you're now going to be using it unprotected, which is not my favorite. But if you want to have something that is like a MacBook Air replacement, I mean, I honestly think, and you don't mind using iPad OS for productivity, which I think is a curse. But if you want to live your life that way, it's up to you. Then I think the iPad Pro actually is going to be like a perfect computer for a lot of people because you get the best of both worlds, obviously. Again, I wish that they would do something more innovative with iPad Pro and give you like an actual OS used for productivity instead of just having it be like the iPhone, but bigger. Like it's hard to be productive on an iPhone, although I do think that the keyboard and trackpad make that a little bit easier. But prices for the new Magic Keyboard, $299 for the 11-inch model, $349 for the 13-inch model. You can pre-order now. Shipping starts on May 15th. The prices for these also have stayed the same, right?
Mm-hmm. I don't know about that.
Okay.
$299.
It sounds more expensive, but I don't know.
Yeah, didn't it used to be $229 and $300?
I don't think so. I thought it was always.
Oh, the old one is still for sale, so we can just check that.
Yeah, but have the prices changed? Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. So anyway, okay, there are your new 2 accessories. That's going to be a no for me, dog, on both of those. I just don't really need them, and I've made the mistake before where I spent the money and ended up not needing them. So, but if you do need them, then these are going to be even better accessories that are now available. Now I'm just vamping, waiting for someone to stop me. Griffin, you want to talk about the iPad 10? I actually do think this is a big story that didn't get a lot of coverage.
Yeah, so alongside the M4 iPad Pros and M2 iPad Air, Apple announced a price drop for the 10th generation iPad. The tablet now costs $349, making it $100 cheaper than before. Additionally, Apple discontinued the iPad 9 from its lineup for good. The iPad 9 was the last tablet that had a home button, lightning connector, and the first generation pencil. All iPads that Apple now sells feature a narrow bezel design and Touch ID integrated in the side button or Face ID. There is a catch, though. The only catch is that the base model only comes with 64 gigabytes of storage.
Of course.
Upgrading to 256 raises the price to $499.
God,
I'm like,
64, dude.
Yeah, even if you don't use your iPad for very much, like I was listening to a different podcast where Mike Hurley was saying that like he bought a cheap iPad a while ago and it only had 64 gigabytes of RAM because he wasn't gonna, 64 gigs of storage because he wasn't really going to use it for anything. It was just going to be a consumption device. And like he's had to delete notes, he's had to delete mail from the iPad. It has like no photos on it, but like just the thumbnails are like filling it up on space. Like 64 gigs, that's the new stinker of the lineup. Try if you know somebody buying an iPad, try to convince them to upgrade the storage if at all possible.
Yeah, but then it negates the whole point, which is getting a cheap iPad. I mean, I do love these iPads for my kids, and I'm happy to see that we've moved on from the 9th generation iPad because that thing was ancient. Although at one point they were selling for $189, which I think was a crazy good deal. But these iPad 10s are much, much newer. But dude, 64 gigabytes of RAM. I'm so sick of
Even
being nickel and dimed for the storage. I mean, how much can an extra 64 gigabytes of storage cost TC? Like 75 cents, maybe. I mean, look, I'm not in ops. I'm not in manufacturing. But, I mean, what, $3? Maybe?
Every entry-level model sold costs him $100. Or $150, isn't it? It's $150.
Yeah.
Wow.
Griffin, were you going to say something? I feel like I cut you off.
What was I going to say?
I don't know.
I mean, yeah, even though it's only $500, for the good one, that is a pretty good entry price point because you can get a keyboard folio for it, you can get an Apple Pencil for it, and you have if you're the opposite of Airfon and you want all of the features like the keyboard and trackpad and pencil, but you don't really need the high quality display, then it's good that they have that base covered as well.
Let's
That's
see
all
here.
I have to say about it.
I bet you anything that the base iPad Air comes with 128 gigs. How much does it come with? Anyone know off the top of their head? Yes, it does. So I mean, like that. This is my point. So now you've upgraded from 64 to 128. It cost you $150 to make that upgrade, which is outrageous. And it's like, oh well, for only an extra $100, now you can have the iPad Air, which is way better. So this is why they do it, man. It's all marketing maneuvers. And it really just chaps my hide. Big time. Okay, let's move on. Griffin, you want to talk about Final Cut Pro and Logic, and then I'll add some color commentary, and then we can jump into the let loose prediction results.
Yeah, so Apple released Final Cut Pro for iPad last year. This year they have one feature that I really want to call out called Live Multicam. This turns your iPad into like a 4-camera director's studio. You can connect up to 4 iPhones to your iPad and see live footage from all of them simultaneously. You can manually control their focus, white balance, and exposure. And you can record from your multicam setup directly into the Final Cut Pro timeline, like switching cameras between them live, which if you really want like an iPhone centric production setup, this saves you the step of like separately recording all 4, from all 4 iPhones and like editing them in after the fact. And this is what I'm most excited for. Apple announced a new app for iPhone called Final Cut Camera. It can. This is what you'll need to have on your iPhone to make the live multicam thing possible. But it can also be used as a standalone video recording app with more precise manual controls on the phone itself. It's going to be available for free later this spring.
That's pretty cool, actually. Even just for having that app available on the phone and having nothing to do with the iPad at all.
Oh yeah.
Okay. What's next?
Logic Pro. There's one feature that I want to call out there. Like they put this one in last, but I think it's like really the coolest one by far. It's called Stem Splitter. This lets you import a single audio file, like from a voice memo, or it could just be like an MP3 that you have from the Files app. You just drag it into Logic, and then you activate Stem Splitter, and it'll use AI on device to like split the to split the track into 4 constituent parts. So you just drag this file in. It's just like a single track, but then suddenly you can isolate the vocals, the drums, the bass, or like any other instruments, and you can like change the mix. You can remove the vocals, you can isolate the vocals if you want to use them for something else. I think that's awesome. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, that is pretty cool. And I think both of these apps, I'm really happy to see that Apple is actively developing new features for both these apps, but it has me a little concerned. You know, both of these apps you can't purchase. You have to rent from Apple, which I don't love. And is a
unless you have the Mac version.
Well,
right, that's right.
But the Mac
is still one price.
Yes, but that's kind of my point is we're not seeing this level of productivity on Final Cut Pro for Mac or for Logic. Like Final Cut Pro seems like it's been abandoned by Apple. They almost
a lot of the new features are coming to the Mac version.
Did they announce that as well?
It doesn't have live multicam,
yeah.
But because the Mac isn't. I guess they don't consider it to be like the mobile setup for that, but like all the AI-powered color correction features are coming to the Mac version as well, and I think the Stem Splitter is coming to the Mac version of Logic
all the
as well.
Stuff in the,
okay,
all the
cool.
Stuff in Logic is for both versions.
Okay, I didn't catch it, which makes
nice try, Irfan.
But I think my point still stands in that Apple has been languishing on Final Cut Pro, particularly. Like you look at what Blackmagic is doing with DaVinci. I mean, dude, they are iterating on that to such a degree that people are migrating from Final Cut Pro to DaVinci Resolve in droves. And DaVinci keeps adding new features. They are being innovative. DaVinci is free, unless you want to pay for the pro features, which a lot of people don't need. It is like the de facto standard for coloring in Hollywood. There's just all this stuff that Blackmagic is doing, which is starting to edge out Final Cut Pro. And like, I love Final Cut Pro. Like, I want to see Apple be more innovative. I don't want to switch. Like, I know Final Cut Pro. I love it. But it just kind of feels like they don't really have they don't have a lot of resources dedicated to it. It just seems like it must be like a small team, and they are very limited in what they can do, probably because Final Cut Pro doesn't make them very much money. And I kind of worry at some point if the features in the subscription version of Final Cut Pro will start to outpace the Mac version. I don't know if that's just me being paranoid, but that's kind of the way it feels. And I also
have
just
to keep
feel like
pace with each other because you need to be able to transfer projects between the two.
Yeah, that's true. And hopefully for that reason alone, the features will remain in parity. And, now that they're both using Apple Silicon, like it seems like the apps are fairly interchangeable, so they can develop for one app and then have it deploy to different Apple hardware. But I just wish they were doing more, man. Like, I don't use Logic as much anymore, but Final Cut Pro is like one of the best apps that Apple has ever released, and I just hate to see it fall behind, and I just wish they were dedicating more resources to it. But that's neither here nor there. That's just a personal observation.
Griffin left out the most important and perhaps infuriating thing.
What's that?
In Logic Pro, they've added virtual bass player to go along with the virtual
Sorry,
drummer.
Lewis. Looks like we'll no longer be needing your services.
AI is coming for the 4-string people. Virtual keyboard is too, I think.
No instrument is safe, Lewis. No artist
terrible.
is safe.
Just terrible. Next thing you know, virtual accordion.
Well, no, if anyone wants
you
that.
Could,
the technology just
thing,
isn't there yet. You
the
got to wait
keyboard
until
thing
the
might have an
M5.
accordion switch. Yeah, the M5.
Yeah, man, there's going to be no instrument or art form that's safe from AI.
I'd be curious to see how well that Stem Splitter works. I mean, there are other apps that do that already, obviously, but maybe this will be better. It's built in. You don't have to buy a separate thing. We'll see.
Okay, look, we're like perfectly in time to wrap up this show.
Look at that.
Now we're done with the Apple
It's like a
news.
military operation.
That's
Precision.
all of it. We keep it high and tight as normal. And now comes to the big question. Let's go through these predictions. I really have absolutely no idea who won because when I was going through that keynote, I was like, dang, I missed some big ones. But I feel like all of us were feeling the same way. So we really have no idea who won.
Yeah, I couldn't bear to look.
I think Griffin also went above and beyond, like his hair, and tallied up the scores for those of you who sent your predictions in. So we'll find out which one of our listeners did the best, and we all just hope and pray that we did better than them. Let's hope we beat at least some of them, Lewis, because otherwise I think we need to.
Like what if every single person beat all of us every single time?
Well, then we need to do a recasting of this show, and we need to become the audience and let them be the ones doing the show, which is entirely possible. Okay, Griffin, how do you want to do this?
Okay, I'll just go through it, and
Should I just go to your site and we can do it one at a
Bring
time?
it up.
All right, it's live.
We had some sound effects.
Okay, so if you didn't listen to last week, this is the prediction game we played. I came up with a list of things we thought would happen. We voted yes or no. This is the rulings. 11-inch and 13-inch iPad Pro feature OLED displays. We all voted yes. We all got that right.
Oh boy.
iPad Pro prices start $200 higher. Airfon voted for that alone. He gets a point there.
I did.
iPad Pro comes with the M4 chip. We've been alluding to that. Airfon voted for that. He got a point there. iPad Pro supports MagSafe. Lewis was the only person who didn't think that was going to happen, and he's the only person who got a point there.
Wait, I said it was going to support MagSafe?
Yeah, you did.
Oh man, I'm gonna have to go back.
Dreamer.
I'm gonna have to go back and listen to the tape. I don't remember this.
10.9 and 12.9-inch iPad Air feature many LED displays. We all voted against that, so we all get a point there.
Okay.
iPad Air comes with Face ID. We were all optimistic, and we all lost a point.
I can't believe it. Yeah.
iPad Air adds camera flash. Airfun and I lose a point there.
Lewis and I are tied, aren't we?
All new iPads move front camera to horizontal side. Lewis and I voted for that.
Lewis is pulling ahead.
Update or price change to regular iPad or iPad Mini. Lewis is the only one who correctly.
Lewis is going to win.
That.
He's way too far ahead now.
At the iPad round, I have 3 points. Airfon has 4 points. Lewis has 6 points.
Oh, damn you, Lewis.
iPad accessories.
Yeah, this is where I really lose.
We all got a lot of points here. The 3 predictions were Apple Pencil 3 adds new squeeze gesture and Find My support. Aluminum Magic Keyboard adds function keys and bigger trackpad. Okay. Magic Keyboard works with Vision Pro. I got a perfect score. Airfon got 2 out of 3. Lewis got 2 out of 3.
Okay.
Other hardware section. Vision Pro is coming to more countries. We all thought this was going to happen. I honestly thought this is why they had an event in London and why the event was at such a weird time. They gathered all these people in Europe to meet at Apple headquarters in the UK. For what? What?
I thought that they did. I guess they didn't, huh?
No, I guess they just chose to do that for no reason.
I just must have missed that.
Yeah. Any new Mac is released. We all knew that wasn't going to happen. New seasonal watch bands and fine woven cases.
Oh,
Lewis
dang.
voted against
Lewis,
that.
you son of a gun. You definitely pulled this off. I can't believe this. You weren't just throwing spaghetti at the wall, Lewis.
Miscellaneous section. iOS 17.5 released within a week. Yes, I think it's coming next Tuesday. Event is shot on iPad. We all thought that was going to happen. Apparently
shot on iPhone, actually.
AI is said more than 20 times. I kept a counter going as I was watching the event. I had a little text edit window. Every time I heard it, I updated it. It got to the iPad Pro section and it was only at 3. So I was like, all right, whatever. But I'm going to reuse that pick for WWDC, so prepare yourselves. A new product is 100% carbon neutral. Airfon voted no. Got a point for that. When are they going to? Presumably, they're going to make more than the Apple Watch carbon neutral.
Lewis, we might tie. We might tie, Lewis.
Yeah. Finally, the event runs over 55 minutes. It was a pretty short 38. I got a point there. So the winner, very surprising, Airfon, 10 points. Griffin, 10 points. Lewis, 13 points.
Oh, baby!
That's for you, Lewis.
I can't believe it. Oh my God. Thank you.
You make me sick. I can't believe it. Lewis pulls it off.
Best reader score was what, 17?
Yeah, Airfon got a great score at the. Yeah, let's go over the listener scores.
Okay.
I won't go through them item by item. I'll just go through the highlights here. So we received submissions from basically every possible avenue. People on the Cult Club. I got messages on Mastodon, on Twitter, and I even got somebody submit one over email by the feedback email.
Did you get any letters?
Website.
Have you checked your mailbox? Yeah, your physical mailbox.
No, I don't leave the house. So
those will be coming in later this week. Yeah. All right.
But overall, the winner was submitted over email. Listener Betty Reyes with 14 points.
Oh my goodness!
Schooled again.
Mm-hmm.
Well, this one's for you, Betty. Betty would like to thank
The Academy.
the people on the CultCast for educating her on what will probably not happen.
A funny thing is, all of the listener submissions did better than Erfan and I. The lowest score was 11 out of 20 from all of our listeners. So there were some 11s, 2 13s, and Betty got a 14.
I am my own worst enemy here because I gave you all my logic, and Lewis goes last, and he's able to like pick and choose, what he wants to believe in, what he doesn't want to believe. I mean, the whole thing is just.
I have 2 points. I have 2 points to say to that. First of all, I don't trust you, so like you can go first and say whatever you want, and it's not going to affect my opinion.
Well, I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about Lewis. He does whatever I say.
Second of all, it's a self-balance. Okay, Lewis lost the last game, so it's how the prediction works.
No, but this is why it works in Lewis's favor, because he gets to listen to both of our arguments, and then he gets to make his own decision. So we're like effectively like convincing him what he should do.
So for WWDC, Lewis will go first, and then we'll have to make our judgments.
Yeah. Well, I think what we should do next time is all type in the chat on the count of 3 what we think. It's going to be yay or nay. It's going to be forever carved into stone what we voted, and then we'll all be going at the same time, and then we give our logic. And at that point, it will be a fair playing field because none of us can talk the other into doing anything. Because I think that you guys talked me into some bad answers too. So it goes both ways. I had the right answer, but then of course you talked me out of it.
You don't have to volunteer a logic before we all give our answers. You chose to do that. And I chose to do that a lot too.
Yeah, but even if you don't give your logic, just like if I was thinking one way and then you and Lewis both say, "Oh yeah, this is definitely going to happen," then I'm like, "Oh, I'm thinking to myself, like, am I wrong here?" It's like there's like peer pressure to get it right. So that's why I think it has to be in real time, all at the same time, and then if we want to discuss, we can. But look.
You should just learn to never second guess yourself, Erfan.
We don't have to litigate this here. We can do this next time, but congratulations, Lewis. I'm so happy.
Congratulations twice to Betty.
Congratulations to Betty, who will be the host of the show starting next week. We'll have to make those arrangements.
What an honor.
Course. Unbelievable. All right, well, look, that's all the CultCast we have for you guys this week, but the fun continues in the Cult Club. If you're not there, I don't know what else you'd be doing, because that's where we're having all these conversations. We're hanging out. We're having movie nights. We make popcorn. We walk around in our robes and fez. It's probably one of the most fun places that you could be, aside from in this live show with us. And if you'd like to support us, you can head to support.thecultcast.com. Support.thecultcast.com. This has been the CultCast, the best 30-plus minute album conversation you're going to hear all week long. New episodes of the CultCast come out every Thursday night. I want to thank everyone for supporting, thank everyone for hanging out live, and of course for listening. And we will see you guys next time. I'll never forgive you for this, Lewis. Well, look, we can make that happen. We can make that happen. If only they would fork it over, Lewis. If only the cheapskates would fork it over. Think how happy we could be. We only need 1,000 people to give us $5. Only 1,000, Lewis. Maybe possibly 2,000. It'd be great if we get to 3,000. Yeah, it's a fraction of a fraction. I think it's worth it, but we'll convince them eventually. Eventually, we'll get that $5. All right, everyone. I'm going to stop the stream.